There are many cultures with a concept of love relationship very different from the one most of us have. But there is a place in the world where men are used to have several wives as a sign of strength. In this new video of Uncensored World, we are going to know in more detail Uganda, probably one of the strangest and mysterious countries in Africa, but at the same time, one of the most beautiful and exotic places on the planet. Uganda, an African country with traditions as surprising as the practice of polygyny, which means that there are men who have more than 10 wives, or contain what many consider the most dangerous island in the world. A place with unique curiosities such as being the natural habitat of the most enigmatic lions on the planet, known as climbing lions due to the strange habit of resting on top of the trees, or for being the home of the Batwa Pygmies tribe, an ethnic group with amazing traditions whose members are less than 5 feet tall. In addition to this, Uganda is the origin of the longest river on Earth, containing huge glaciers on the African continent, or being one of the hottest spots for poaching in the world. A country known as the Pearl of Africa, not only for being home to more than 50% of the world's mountain gorillas, but also for containing wonders such as Lake Victoria, the largest tropical lake in the world, a place with numerous beautiful islands that are one of the biggest tourist destinations in Africa, and among which is the Magingo Island, one of the most dangerous places on the planet. Pay attention, and don't miss this video because we assure you that everything in it will surprise you. Let's get started. Uganda, whose capital is Kampala, is a fascinating country full of contrasts located in the eastern region of the African continent, in the Nile basin, since the longest river on the planet starts here. It is a country without direct access to the sea and has an area of approximately 241,000 square kilometers, bordering the Democratic Republic of Congo to the west, Kenya to the east, South Sudan to the north, and Rwanda and Tanzania to the southwest. Uganda is located in a region known as the Great Lakes of Africa, hosting in its territory such important bodies of water as Lake Victoria, Lake Albert, Lake Edward, and Lake Kyoga. Among all these, Lake Victoria stands out as the second largest freshwater lake and the first largest and most important tropical lake on Earth, a reality that has a lot to do with it being one of the most impressive countries, both in terms of biodiversity and economic and cultural impact in this region of the world. With a diverse and culturally rich population, Uganda is home to about 47 million people, giving it a fairly high population density compared to other African countries in the world. To better understand, countries like Uruguay are of similar size, but the population is less than 4 million people, less than 1/10 of the Ugandan population. The official languages of Uganda are English and Swahili, but up to 70 different languages coexist in this country, reflecting an impressive cultural diversity. Among them, Luganda is the most widespread language, spoken by the Baganda, the largest ethnic group inhabiting the traditional Buganda sub-kingdom. This ancient kingdom not only gave rise to the name Uganda, but is also the cultural and historical heart of the nation. Buganda is a kingdom within a country, an enigma that embodies the richness and complexity of Uganda. Although the country is governed under a presidential system, Buganda retains its constitutional monarchy, with a king, a territory divided into districts, and even ministries of its own. This sub-kingdom, with its own website separate from the official Ugandan one, is a symbol and living testimony of the mysterious traditions that still survive in this exotic corner of Africa. This union of different kingdoms under the umbrella of Uganda encompassed a great multitude of ethnic groups, since, for 10 centuries, Uganda had been the crossroads of some 40 different ethnic or tribal groups. Among these ethnic groups, the Pygmy Batwa tribe is probably one of the most enigmatic of all. The Batwa, like the other Pygmy tribes, are recognized worldwide for their extraordinary short stature, which generally does not exceed 1.5 meters. Their origin dates back to prehistoric times, being considered as the first inhabitants of Uganda several centuries ago. Their short stature, far from being a disadvantage, is seen as a unique adaptation to their environment. In their arboreal world, Their small proportions allow them to move with agility among the branches and hide among the dense vegetation, thus avoiding predators and approaching their prey with cunning. Probably one of the animals that the Pygmies feared the most are the tree-climbing lions, probably the most extraordinary breed of these ferocious predators, due to the way they have evolved, which you will learn about later. Coming back to these Pygmies, the Batwa's connection with nature is so extraordinary that it makes them unique. For them, the forest is more than a home. It is a living entity that houses spirits and ancestors. They firmly believe that every tree and every animal has a guardian spirit, and they maintain a symbiotic relationship with the environment, collecting only what is necessary and respecting natural cycles. A notable curiosity is their use of medicinal plants, a knowledge that allows them to cure illnesses and ailments in ways that few in the modern world understand. However, one of the most controversial aspects of the Batwa is their circumcision ritual, which is performed in an almost sacred environment. This ritual not only marks the transition to adulthood, but also implies a deep connection to the ancestors and the forest. By undergoing this practice, young people are taught about life, respect for nature, and the importance of their culture. This rite, which may seem violent to outsiders, is a celebration of identity and belonging to a community that, although it has faced many challenges, remains united in its connection to its roots. The Batwa live in remote parts of Uganda, which has contributed to the preservation of their ancestral traditions and unique culture. Their physical appearance is also distinctive. Many of them feature tattoos and scars that symbolize their family history and the rites of passage they have undergone. In terms of their relationships, polygamy is a practice still observed among the Batwa Pygmies. However, this system is not only based on the accumulation of wives, but on the idea of cooperation and family unity. As you will see below, this practice is common among other ethnic groups in Uganda and has origins and motives that will surely surprise you. Besides the Batwa Pygmies, today they survive within kingdoms of their own. Uganda is undoubtedly one of the most culturally diverse African countries, where no one ethnic group stands out above the others. As you can see, this is one of the most mysterious and unknown countries in Africa, an enclave of ethnicities that makes some of the strangest and oldest tribes of the planet coexist here, which you will know in more detail later. But to get to know Uganda and the kindness of its people better, it is important to start with its near and tragic past. In the 19th century, many European explorers began to arrive in Uganda until the year 1894, when the country became a British protectorate. During this colonial period, the British government implemented some reforms in administration and education, improving economic development. However, colonization also brought with it many problems and inequalities, such as conflicts, slavery, and displacement of some local ethnic groups. Finally, Uganda gained its independence from Great Britain in the year 1962, with Milton Obote as president. After gaining independence, Uganda took as its ensign the flag of black, yellow, and red stripes, horizontally, which seemed to evoke the black of the skin, the yellow of the earth, and the red of the blood. Curiously, the central image of the crested crane is British heritage, since it was they who used it as identification of the Ugandan territory. This crane is also the national bird. During the mandate of Milton Obote, the country faced a remarkable political and economic instability. In the year 1971, a general named Idi Amin Dada took power after a coup d'etat and established a brutal dictatorship that lasted until 1979. Idi Amin was the one who established the bloodiest regime in the recent history of Africa, a tragedy in which it is estimated that between 100 and 500,000 people lost their lives. In the year 1977, this dictator expelled the English consul and proclaimed himself conqueror of the British Empire, calling himself the last King of Scotland. If you are interested in this part of history, in the year 2006, the actor Forrest Whitaker won the Oscar for his interpretation of Idi Amin Dada in the film entitled The Last King of Scotland. Since the fall of the regime, Uganda has moved towards greater political and economic stability, although it still faces some challenges today. Today, Uganda is a developing country with a growing economy and a young and dynamic population. Ugandans are known for their friendliness and hospitality, and generally, you will have no trouble conversing with locals. Western visitors can sometimes be perceived as more resourceful, a view that may be influenced by the colonial past, as well as by movies and stories. Among these stories and movies, one of the ones that best reflects the reality of this exotic country might be the famous Gorillas in the Mist. If you are lucky enough to enjoy this movie, you will be able to enjoy landscapes that do not seem real, but they do exist and are concentrated in the territory of African countries such as Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Uganda. Among all these, Uganda was the country that Winston Churchill, one of the most famous leaders in British history, defined as the Pearl of Africa. One of the most extraordinary places to admire the flora and fauna of Uganda is the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park, located in the far west of the country, about 8 hours' drive from the capital, Kampala. This is the best place to come face to face with the iconic Gorillas in the Mist. The mist that envelops this jungle gives it a mystical, almost unreal air, and together with the majestic presence of these gorillas, now in danger of extinction, creates an atmosphere of awe and reverence that makes Bwindi a unique living sanctuary in the world. Apart from this place, the entire country is recognized worldwide as the sanctuary on Earth for this wonderful animal, as it is estimated that approximately half of the total population of all mountain gorillas in the world is found in Uganda. Fortunately, although mountain gorillas are in serious danger of extinction, the trend in recent years is positive. In the year 2010, it was estimated that there were only 480 specimens left in the whole of Africa, while the following year, the census population more than doubled, reaching 1,060 specimens. Of all the African countries, Uganda is the place where it is easiest to observe them. That is why one of the main objectives of this country, and of rangers such as those of the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest, is to protect the gorillas from one of the main causes of their extinction, the worrying and growing poaching. This is the main reason why this species has been so close to extinction, and it has a lot to do with the black market resulting from the stupidity of some human beings. Although some gorillas were killed by traps set for other animals, most were and are hunted for use in traditional medicine, or for their heads, hands, and feet that were sold to the minds and hearts of dark or unconscious people, known as collectors. Apart from that, many offspring were captured and then sold to zoos, as well as to researchers or wealthy people who wanted them as pets, resulting almost all the time in the loss of one or more adult gorillas, as usually the members of the group usually fight to the death to protect the young ones. This business has a lot to do with the fact that in the past, offspring have been sold for more than $40,000. This reality, together with the inequality, low salaries, and great poverty in a large part of the Ugandan population, makes this poaching very difficult to eradicate. Nowadays, poaching in Uganda is less common, although it is still a real danger for the species. Although Uganda is famous for its mountain gorillas, and these are undoubtedly one of the country's main attractions, probably the most striking and extraordinary animal that inhabits these lands is the tree-climbing lion. This fascinating feline has evolved in such an amazing way that it has developed the mysterious ability to climb tall trees, where it seeks rest and refuge on their tops. The image of a lion resting peacefully on a branch, gazing serenely while observing its territory, is a breathtaking sight for any observer lucky enough to spot them. This unusual behavior makes it one of the most extraordinary lion breeds in the world. The ability of these tree-climbing lions to climb trees may seem like a trick of nature, but it is deeply rooted in their need for survival. In the Ashasha region of Queen Elizabeth National Park, competition for resources and pressure from other predators are the main reason behind this curious way of adapting to the environment. By resting in the branches, the lions can escape from ground dangers, such as hippos and other predators, even avoiding contact with poachers who often stalk these places in search of prey. This strategy allows them to keep an eye on both their potential prey and any imminent threats. In addition, resting high up provides them with a thermal advantage. The heat of the ground can be overwhelming during the day in this region, and by seeking shelter in the treetops, lions avoid the extreme heat and conserve energy for hunting during the cooler hours of the day. As you are seeing, in an environment where the struggle for life is constant, the tree-climbing lions are a testament to the incredible adaptability of Uganda's wildlife. But apart from the tree-climbing lions, the majestic mountains, forests, jungles, and the beautiful mountain gorillas, surely the most precious place in this country is Lake Victoria. Besides the majestic mountains, forests, jungles, and the beautiful mountain gorillas, surely the most precious place in this country is Lake Victoria. This lake is undoubtedly one of the crown jewels of Uganda. This impressive body of water, which also borders Tanzania and Kenya, is the second largest freshwater lake in the world and the largest tropical lake on the planet. Known in Swahili as Victoria Nyanza, this vast lake is also the source of the legendary White Nile, one of the two main streams that form the Nile River, the longest river in Africa and one of the longest in the world. The White Nile begins its journey from this lake, flowing north through Uganda, South Sudan, and Sudan, where it joins the Blue Nile in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. From that confluence, the river is known simply as the Nile and continues its journey into Egypt, finally flowing into the Mediterranean Sea. Such is the majesty and grandeur of Lake Victoria that it stands out not only for its size, but also for its beauty and diversity, and even for its mystery, as you are about to see. This lake is home to thousands of islands, many of which are popular tourist destinations, with exotic landscapes, amazing biodiversity, and opportunities to explore the local culture. Among the best-known islands is Sisi Island, a cluster of islands that attracts visitors for its white sandy beaches, lush vegetation, and laid-back atmosphere. In addition to these island paradises, Lake Victoria is also known for the spectacular Owen Falls, located at the northern end of the lake, where the White Nile begins its journey northward. These falls are not only a place of great natural beauty, but also a historical site, as they were visited by the first European explorers in their search for the source of the Nile. But if there is a world-famous island in Lake Victoria, it is undoubtedly Migingo Island, a small and rocky island that, although it measures only 2,000 square meters, about half the size of a soccer field, is surprisingly disputed and densely overpopulated, being considered by many people as the most dangerous island on Earth. Located in the eastern part of Lake Victoria, Migingo Island has captured the world's attention due to its unusual population density, where people literally live on top of each other, and its environment fraught with illegal trafficking, smuggling, and territorial tensions between Uganda and Kenya. All this makes Migingo Island a unique, mysterious, and dark place within this majestic lake. This islet, located in the middle of Lake Victoria, has been for years a source of diplomatic and border conflicts between Uganda and Kenya. The dispute over its sovereignty was so intense that both countries deployed police and military detachments on this small islet. However, in 2009, the Ugandan president officially recognized that the island belonged to Kenya and ordered the withdrawal of its troops. Despite this resolution, tensions did not cease, as Uganda continues to accuse Kenyan fishermen of illegal fishing in its nearby territorial waters, as the water border is only a few hundred meters from the island. The main economic activity on Migingo Island is fishing for Nile perch, a species introduced into the lake by the British in the 1940s. This fish, which can reach up to 2 meters in length and weigh 200 kilos, preyed on other species, becoming the dominant resource of this lake. Its abundance attracted numerous fishermen, who settled in Migingo and created a compact and overpopulated community. Over the years, this population grew, but the island's limits did not. So Migingo is also considered the most overpopulated place in the world. Migingo Island today also faces serious environmental and social problems. The lack of hygiene is alarming, with only 2 toilets for the entire population, forcing the inhabitants to dump waste into the lake, polluting its waters. In addition, the receding shoreline, which has advanced 1 meter in just 4 years, threatens to turn Lake Victoria into a desert. Fishing in Migingo is also affected by police corruption and piracy, making this island a very dangerous place. Fishermen must pay bribes to local authorities for protection, and those who do not are at the mercy of pirates, who often operate with the complicity of the police and can cause serious tragedies. The situation is so dangerous that even those who pay for protection avoid fishing at night because of the risk of attacks by pirates and smugglers. This small piece of land shaped like a giant turtle has witnessed many tragedies and remains an extremely difficult place to live. Corruption, violence, and deplorable conditions for its residents have made Migingo one of the most inhospitable places in the world. Yet it remains vital to hundreds of families who depend on fishing for their livelihoods, and its economic importance ensures that it will continue to be a contested and troubled place in the heart of Lake Victoria. The lake, its resources such as Nile perch and its growing tourism, make it one of the mainstays of the Ugandan economy, although more than 80% of total income comes from agriculture and the export of products such as coffee, tea, tobacco, and cotton, which remain fundamental to the livelihoods of much of the population. Uganda is a multicultural nation, rich in traditions and surprising realities, thanks to the incredible diversity of its people. Throughout its history, this country has been a unique point of confluence and cultural mix on the African continent. With more than 50 ethnic groups living together in harmony, Uganda is a mosaic of coexisting cultures, each with its own heritage, customs, and beliefs. Among the most fascinating and enigmatic tribes in Uganda are the Ik, one of the oldest and most remote ethnic groups in the country. This tribe, which inhabits the mountains of northeastern Uganda near the Kenyan border, is known for its unique customs in an environment as beautiful as it is inhospitable. The Ik live in small, scattered clans and are mainly engaged in hunting and gathering. What is most striking is their peculiar social structure, based on extreme individuality, where group solidarity is limited, and they tend to live in solitude in the middle of the jungle for long periods of time. Another outstanding tribe is the Karamojong, nomadic warriors who live in the arid northeast of Uganda. This tribe is known for its herding customs, impressive ritual dances, and warrior traditions. The Karamojong also practice an initiation ritual called Ekitet that marks the transition from adolescence to adulthood, an event that includes dancing, singing, and physical challenges among the youth, which they often push to the limit. The largest ethnic group in the whole country is the Baganda. The Baganda are the inhabitants of the Kingdom of Buganda, from which the country derives its name. The Kiganda is a traditional dance that shows the grace and discipline of this tribe, and their society is deeply linked to the monarchy and the veneration of ancestors. These tribes, along with many others, make Uganda a country full of mysteries and ancient traditions, where each ethnic group brings its uniqueness to the country's rich cultural heritage. Among Uganda's traditions, one of the most controversial worldwide is undoubtedly the practice of polygamy. In Uganda, this practice specifically refers to a man being able to have several wives simultaneously. A form of polygamy, known as polygyny. In this country, a man having multiple wives is legal, allowing a man to marry multiple wives at the same time. It is estimated that about 8% of women and 7% of men in Uganda live in polygamous relationships, a custom deeply rooted in the culture and traditions of many Ugandan tribes. The origin of this way of life in Uganda can be traced back to economic, social, and cultural reasons. In many of the rural communities, the possession of a large family, consisting of several wives and children, was considered a sign of wealth and status. That is why those who could afford to have several wives were, and still are, considered powerful people in Uganda. More wives meant more children, and more children meant more hands to work in agriculture, which has been the basis of the Ugandan economy for centuries. This family structure ensured not only the economic survival of the family, but also the continuity of lineage and cultural heritage in these remote lands. In addition, polygamy in Uganda has historically been linked to the distribution of power and authority within tribes. The man, as the head of the family, has a dominant role and is seen as the primary protector and provider. Multiple wives, in addition to contributing to the livelihood of the family, also help to establish alliances between different families and clans, reinforcing social cohesion within the tribe. In this context, marriage is not only a union between two people, but an agreement between families, and sometimes even between communities. In Ugandan families, the man's authority is unquestioned, and all family members, especially wives and children, are expected to show respect and obedience. This respect also extends to elders, who occupy a privileged place in society, and are seen as the guardians of wisdom and traditions. In this context, marriage has a clear objective: procreation. Having children is considered the main purpose of the marital union, thus ensuring the continuity of the clan and the transmission of values and customs. With this in mind, divorce in Uganda is extremely rare, as marriage is seen as a sacred and lasting commitment. Families, traditions, and the community play a crucial role in the stability of marital unions, and the dissolution of a marriage is perceived as a failure that affects not only the couple, but the entire social structure around them. This practice, although controversial from an outside perspective, remains an integral part of life in many Ugandan communities. Ancestral customs and traditions continue to guide family and social relations in these areas, where polygyny is accepted as a cultural norm, especially in remote villages. However, the influence of globalization and changing social trends are shaping the country's reality. In Uganda's major cities, these traditional practices are falling into disuse, with conventional marriages becoming more common, reflecting a shift that has much to do with Western influences. This change has also been influenced by the predominant religion in Uganda. Christianity, which is the majority religion in the country, has had a significant impact on the perception and practice of marriage. The majority of the Ugandan population identifies as Christian, and many Christian denominations promote monogamous marriage as an ideal. This religious influence is contributing to the transformation of traditional family structures, especially in the urban areas. Thinking about all this that you have known, and the origin and reality of polygyny in Uganda, we would like to ask you, what do you think about these traditions in Uganda? Would you be okay with the fact that, depending on the reality of the village, men could still have several wives? Or do you think it is better that this tradition is changing? What has surprised you the most about this incredible country? Pause the video now and leave us your comment. Doing so is the best way for you to support the channel and be part of Uncensored World. We love to read you and help others with your comments. And don't forget to leave us a nice like if you are liking this video. Thank you. Surely these ancestral traditions have a lot to do with Uganda being one of the countries with the highest birth rates in the world, with an average number of children per woman, estimated at almost 7 children on average, one of the highest on the planet, which has a lot to do with the reality of this magical corner of the planet. Apart from all the beauty that you have already known, it is important to know 2 of the most surprising and beautiful corners of Uganda and the African continent. One of these places are the Mountains of the Moon, also known as the Rwenzori Mountains, which represent one of the most amazing landscapes in the country. Despite their location close to the equator, these mountains contain snow-capped peaks all year round due to their extreme altitude, which exceeds 5,000 meters above sea level. This climatic uniqueness creates a unique microclimate, favoring an extraordinary biodiversity. The mountains of the moon are home to flora and fauna found nowhere else in the world, including high-altitude tropical forests and even glaciers. A geological reality that you would surely never have imagined could be found in Africa, let alone nearby in this equatorial zone of the Earth. This mountain range extends to the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, and a section of it is protected within the Rwenzori National Park, declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in the year 1994. In addition to the Moon Mountains, another incredible place are the Sipi Cliffs, located in the region of Kapchorwa. These enormous waterfalls stand out for their spectacular natural beauty. This place is famous for its waterfalls that plunge from rocky cliffs hundreds of meters high, creating a breathtaking and picturesque landscape, which seems from another planet. The Sipi Cliffs not only offer panoramic views over the cascading crystal-clear waters, but are also a paradise for lovers of hiking and birdwatching and other wildlife. But to visit Uganda in conditions, it is essential not only to admire its beauty and cultural richness, but also to respect the local rules and precautions to ensure a fantastic and safe experience. That's why from Uncensored World we thought we'd give you some key recommendations that are good to keep in mind. If you intend to see mountain gorillas in their natural habitat, avoid using flash in your photographs. This type of lighting can frighten the gorillas and provoke a violent reaction. It is also important to maintain a minimum safe distance of 7 meters from these majestic animals to ensure their tranquility and to prevent the transmission of human diseases. It is important not to touch them, not to talk loudly, not to eat or drink near them, and to avoid direct eye contact with them, as doing so may cause them to consider you a threat. In rural areas or villages, respect the privacy of the residents and tribal traditions. Also, do not take photographs without their consent, especially of security personnel or facilities. When near lakes or rivers, refrain from swimming or cooling off in them. In Uganda, hippos and Nile crocodiles can be present even outside the natural parks. Apart from that, the risk of contracting schistosomiasis, a parasitic disease, is considerable. In addition to all this, it is wise not to go out at night without local company and to keep a low profile regarding your belongings and money, especially in places like Magingo Island. Also avoid taking selfies with people you don't know who may be in poor situations, as this may be considered insensitive or exploitative. I hope you have enjoyed Uganda, one of the most surprising and beautiful countries on the planet, a place that combines the magic of fantasy landscapes with curiosities and mysteries that would leave more than one speechless. Don't forget to subscribe to Uncensored World so you don't miss any of the fantastic videos we make every week. We hope this video has inspired you to explore this incredible country and discover its charm, and we advise you not to miss the video that follows this one to continue enjoying the wonders, mysteries, and curiosities that make unique this beautiful planet called Earth. Click on it, you will enjoy it.